Hi friends, fellow woodturners. Richard Ford here, coming to you from Nova Scotia, Canada. It's December, we've had more snow, it's cold, winter is here, and Christmas is coming just around the corner. So with that in mind, I've been making some little icicles to hang on the tree, and I suddenly realized I've never videotaped this before, and I'm using a whole bunch of new tools that I've developed that you maybe haven't seen before, and I'm finishing differently to what I used to. I'm using different products and different method to finish. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's new. These things happen slowly over time, and all of a sudden you find you're turning in a different way. It's an evolution that happens to us all, I think. You find something you like better and you go in that direction. So I'm going to go now to the video of me turning some of these little icicles, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. So here we are.
Safety. It's a big thing in the workshop. If you don't feel safe doing something, or you just don't feel comfortable, don't do it. You're the only person who can keep you safe. And if you don't do it, no one else can.
Hi, welcome to the shop. Today I'm going to attempt to make one of these little icicles for a Christmas tree. And you can see it would make a pretty good finial too. Whoops. There it is. Now, okay. Hang that up. Now I'm using a collet chuck with a 5/8 collet in it, and I start off with a block. This is about 7/8 of an inch square, just because that was the thickness of the plank that I had. This is Purdue, and it's about 6 inches long. Then I take that billet and I'll turn a tenon on the end to fit my 5/8 collet chuck. And while I have it between centers, I just rough it down to round and remove some of the excess material here. So I mount that. Now this is a piece of red palm, and it can be very beautiful. I put that in my collet chuck, tighten it up, and I'll bring this tailstock up against it, a live center there to give it some support out on the end. Bingo. Now I know I'm going to need about 1/4 inch or so to part this off next to the collet chuck. So I'm going to need a groove just about there. I think that should be about an inch and a, well, it's a little bit bigger. 1 1/4 is good enough. 1 1/4. Unlock the headstock. Put it on the line. Yeah. Just over 1 1/4. So I'll go just to the left of that a little bit. Now, in order to make a nice little groove, I tend to use my That's All tool. This is a little point tool with a negative rake on the top. It works very well. I call it my That's All. Just on the 2000. Yeah. Now, I'm going to make a sphere here. So I want something just a little bit less than that. Just about there. And why is it less? It's less because I'm not going right down to the middle. So, okay, so I'm going to put another little groove here. Now with that saw tool, if I tip it a little bit this way, it will cut on this edge. And if I tip it a little bit the other way, it will cut on the other edge. Sort of the start of that ball. Yeah. Okay. Now another tool I use a lot is this flat top gouge. This is a beautiful little tool, and for rolling a bead or something, I don't think you can beat it. It's about 37 degrees included angle on the top. Now it has a negative top on it as well, so if you use it as a scraper, it's a negative rate scraper. But if you use it as a gouge and you roll it, it works just like a spindle gouge, or works like a round nose skew. It's a remarkable little tool. I call it a flat top gouge. See, I'm rolling this. Yeah. I hold it in my palm like that, and I roll it whichever way I'm going. And it sort of automatically makes the shape. Now, over on this side here, I'm going to switch back to my that saw tool, little pointing tool. Okay, and over this side I need it smaller, because I want to go from a sort of a taper from here on down. Roll a little bead here. And we'll clean out down in the V with the little that's all tool. It's made to do it so. There, now, using a standard, well I say standard because mine is short, but spindle roughing gouge, because it's the best tool for doing this. There isn't a better tool. Now I'm going to use my little finishing smoothing scraper. Again, the 37 degrees included angle, if you looked at it, these two angles here. One end has got a point, one end has got a radius. So if you're down in a cove, you might want to use this end. If you're going down into a sharp corner, you might want to use this end. But this is just for smoothing out those little hesitation marks that we all get. Well, not you, I know you don't get them, but I get them. It's just held flat. It's not meant for removing any amount of material. Just need to raise it up a touch so that when I hold it level, it's right on the center line. Needs a touch. Okay, I'm going to show you how I sharpen all these tools. I'll just, I think you can see anyway, yes. Can you see that? Yeah. I just, on this little diamond plate here, a little bit of WD-40, and I'll just do that to sharpen it. Now I'm not trying for a burr. I suppose I must get a little burr. Not that I can feel it. Oh, there's a slight one this side, very, very slight. I'm not really trying for a burr, but if you get one, well, you get one. I sharpen my little flat top gouge the same way, just on here. I usually have a little clamp. Stop it moving around. Don't know if I can get that on here. Yeah. Still see me? No. Okay. I'll back this off. Now you can see it. Right, okay. Tool, yeah. I just raise it up until it feels the flat is on there. And then that's about all it takes to give me a razor type sharp edge here. I suppose occasionally I might have to go back to the belt sander just to touch up the back if you know, after a year or two, I don't know how long. I've been using this for quite a long time now, a year or so, just touching the front like that when I need to sharpen it. sharpen that saw tool the same way. I just take the top of it, I put it down flat on the, you can feel it there on the, and that's it. That's all I do. It's sharpened, it's ready to go again. You can feel how sharp it is with your finger, just your thumb. Yeah, very nice. What else? Oh, the roughing gouge I sharpen in the regular way on my, I have a belt sander with a table set at the right angle, and I just roll it round. I showed you that one. Yeah, I think I do have a smaller version of the flat top gouge too, and I sharpen that in exactly the same way, like that. Yeah, that's all it takes. Oh yeah, lovely. Okay, that's sharpening. Tail stop back. Set the tension, not too tight. It's getting pretty thin here. Okay. Now, my little smoothing scraper. Now if I put it vertical, it has to be exactly vertical, I can go down and sharpen up these points, take any fuzzies out of these deep V's. Okay, using my small flat top gouge now, I'll just using it like a scraper right now. Scooping it like you scoop ice cream. Whoops. Let's see now. Okay. Doesn't have to be my small one for doing this. Small one is just where you want to get into some little tight corner. Now, you see this has stopped turning. This is still turning, this has stopped. I've actually cut through Here's the, whoop, there it went. So I just need to finish this off now, this point here. And I'll support it a little bit with my hand, with my finger, and just smooth off that point. Try the smoothing scraper there, just to take those little hesitation marks away. Yeah, I think we're ready to sand. Okay, now I have a little piece of 180 Abernet here, and I love the Abernet sanding medium. It's not paper, it's like a mesh. What I like is that it seems to be very regular, very the same size grit everywhere. That you don't seem to get that odd piece of grit that's bigger and will make a scratch line. So I find I'm going to put the dust collector on. I find it lasts a long time. So although initially it's expensive to buy, in the long run it's probably cheaper. This isn't based on any kind of studies, just that this little piece would do 40 of these ornaments or so, no problem. And I never had any other kind of sandpaper that was so economical, you know, so long lasting. I'm just going to mark where I'm going to part it off. I'm going to part it off with my that's all. Okay. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is seal it. I'm going to use some of my sanding sealer. It's secret. And I'll tell you what it is. and I've been using this for a little while now. It's Pledge floor polish, the original brand. That's what's in here. I just find these such a convenient little dispensers for things like this. So now originally this was called Future Floor Polish, and it's sold under many names all around the world, manufactured by Johnson. It's about $9 here for 750 or 799 milliliters. Now it's water-based acrylic, and I was first shown this by a friend in our wood turning club that I'm in, the Nova Wood Turners Guild wood turning club, and he was demonstrating how you could use this to harden up punky wood. So if you had a piece of spalted wood or punky wood, he would basically coat it in this material. Now he used a little sponge to put it on. Rub it in, let it soak in as much as it wants. The more it soaks in, the better. So that's why I only sand to the 180 or 240 at the finest. I don't want to close the pore or pores of the wood or varnish the pores of the wood. I want them open to receive this sanding sealer. Now I do make another sanding sealer myself, and that works good too. It's mainly shellac, a shellac based sanding sealer. Now what I do with this is I'll let it soak in, and then I'll wipe it off and speed up the lathe. Now I find different species of wood will react differently. This is quite smooth now. I could probably put a finish right on it now, but what I normally do, because it isn't chemically dried yet, probably that's going to take 24 hours for it to dry into a plastic sort of shield in the surface of the wood there. So what I normally do now is I'll finish the sanding, the abrading, with my Nova Silk, Ford's Nova Silk. I just put a little on, spread it into the wood, now this is a cutting and polishing paste that will finish the wood to a fine. You can put it on with a paper towel too. I mean, on a small thing like this I tend to use my fingers. It's perfectly harmless, but it will polish the surface and make it smooth. It's like sanding through the grits, wet sanding through the grits. We've got no dust. It's a big plus. We're getting a nice finish. We're not having to move that back a little bit. Getting a nice finish. We're up to about 2,000 again. And it's very simple. If you want to do a little more, which I often do another, just use a little like this on a small ornament, like this. touch more there. I'm going to let in there. And how I sort of feel is that I'm pushing this into the surface. That's what I want to be doing. As I push it into the surface, actually it breaks down, gets finer and finer, and will give you a finer and finer sort of finish. Don't use a big piece of cloth when you're doing this. Use paper towel, or if you've got to use a piece of cloth, 2 inches square maximum, I would say, is the size you would want to use. It has the danger of wrapping around your turning and wrapping your finger in with it. And about all you can do then is scream. You can't possibly react fast enough to turn your machine off or anything like that. So practice your screaming if you want to use cloth. Now this is not a finish. There are waxes in it and oils in it. But I tend to wipe it right off. Wipe it right off. In the process of it doing the cutting and polishing, I wipe it off and I'll go to a clean piece of towel. And when I'm not getting any more deposit on the paper towel, because I've wiped it all off, I know I'm done. If I'm happy with the shine. If I'm not, I'll put another little dab on. Yeah, simple as that. So here we've got the finish now ready, the surface rather, ready for a finish. Now your finish could be a wipe-on poly, it could be, for those of you who like to use CA glue and board linseed oil mix. I like to use my 2-minute finish, which is a variation of Captain Eddie's 2-minute finish. I don't put the alcohol in, I just use the board linseed oil and Zinsser's shellac ready-made in the can. Equal parts of each, 1 to 1. I just mix it up, shake it, you always have to shake it, and it gives me a shellac finish. Whoops, oh, it's wasteful. Now, dispose of your pieces of paper properly. Boiled linseed oil or linseed oil can combust, instantly combust. I've had it happen in my shop here. I had a pile of it in a bucket, went out, came back, it was on fire. Awful mess. I was lucky I didn't lose my workshop because it was in a steel bucket and it was in the middle of the floor and there was nothing around it. That was back before my shop became quite so crowded as it is now. So treat it with respect, dispose of your cloths or paper towel properly. Okay, that's a 2-minute finish, and you can, I'll show you a nice thing about the 2-minute finish. What I like is, I can go right ahead now, it's dry, I can put another coat on, if I choose. It's up to you how many coats you put on. It's a nice feature. It goes hard. It sort of goes sticky for a minute, and then it goes hard on the paper towel when it's going through the drying process. So expect it to go a little bit sticky and then hard. Yeah, it's starting to look nice. It's pretty, isn't it? Look at that. Now I'm just going to part it off, and I'll drill a little hole in it to put a cord through to hang it on a tree. I expect you notice me touching this chuck. When you get one of these collet chucks, the edges here are sharp, and if it was running and you touch it, it would be like putting your hand on a planer blade. It would cut your skin off. So I take and I radius all the sharp corners on everything like this, because I know I'm occasionally going to touch it and I don't want it to grate my hand. Now, parting it off, I'm going to use my little that's all. I've marked where I'm going to part it off. About 2,000 be about right. I'm going to part it off here. It's down about a 1/16 there now. So now, how can I do this without that you can see it there? Can you see that? I've got to hold it, or else I've got to have to search around on the floor for it after. There, just gently, no pressure, off it comes. There, nicely parted off. I'll just put a little bit of the 2-minute finish on the end. There's a very, very tiny little feather up in the middle there. We'll just take that off. There. Now a little drop of 2-minute finish. Oh, helps if you take the cap off. Yeah. Wonder what was happening there. Another thing about the 2-minute finish I like is I can apply it by hand. I don't have to have it spinning in the lathe. Now it dries much faster if it is spinning in the lathe, but it will dry perfectly just doing it by hand. So sometimes you might want to touch up a bowl or vase or something. You can do that just by hand. Now, lovely, there it is. That red palm is pretty, isn't it? Now I'm going to drill a hole in here for the string to go through. I have a drill mounted in my pedestal drill. Normally, where there's a discernible grain, I'll go in the side grain, not in the end grain. I'll go through the side grain. Here I don't know where it is, so anyway I'll just take my little bird cage awl, put a little mark in it for the drill, and all I do is I run it in the pedestal, hold it in my hand and push up on it, making sure the drill's going through the middle. I'll just go do that now. There. You see the hole? Yeah, I drilled. There. So we have a nice, now all that's left to do now is to buff it. So I'll buff it. I've got a couple of others here that I did too that need buffing. So I'll set up my little buffing table and buff a few of these so you can see the final thing. While I set up my buffing table, I'll turn off the camera. Hi, welcome back. This is my buffing table. You see it has a 1-inch shaft on it that will go into the banjo. Like so. And I usually run it so the top is level with the center, roughly, of the mops. Okay. I have a little stub shaft in my collet, and I have my 3 buffing mops for the 3 Beal products. I bring my buffing table in like that, and it gives me support for my hands. Now, probably don't need to use the triple E. On these. What I normally do is I'll put the 2-minute finish on, then I'll set them aside for 24 hours. So this is the one I just did. The reason I set them aside is it gives everything time to harden, and it's less likely to get fingerprints or anything. It's pretty good now, but we'll put it aside anyway. These are some I've done yesterday. We'll just buff them in the normal way. This is a piece of product, I believe. I could probably go straight to the white diamond, but we'll do the 3 products. Let's put these aside so I don't knock them off onto the floor. This table gives me tremendous support. I don't buff anything now without it. I was a little concerned when I started using it, started trying it, thinking that I could get things trapped, you know, down here. But that's not been the case. You still have to be aware that the buffing mop is going down, it's pulling everything down all the time. But it gives you such tremendous support. That it ends up being, in my opinion, a lot safer. And there's one of those times when I hold the collet chuck to slow it down. Would have ripped my hand to shreds before I took the sharp edges off. Then number 2, see I have 2 dots on it, like 3 dots on, 1 dot on this one, 2 on this one for the white diamond, and 3 for the Canuba wax. They're around 2,000, small wheel, it's a small buffing wheel. The way I judge the speed is how soft the wheel is. Like the slower we make the wheel turn, the softer the buffing mop is. So probably 16, 17 is fine, 1700 for this diameter. quite a nice little icicle. Now we'll put some Canuba wax on it. So this mop has 3 little marks on it, so I know it's for the Canuba. I use them 1, 2, 3. So you can see it a little easier, hopefully. There. I'll move you over a touch. There's this little icicle, it's quite nice. So in this video, we used standard roughing gouge. A little shorter version I have. When I find when I'm making these small things, I really only need a little short handle. About 37 to 40 degree included angle on the end. Next we used my That's All tool. This was for putting the grooves in, the V's in. Then we used my flat top gouge here. About a 37 degree included angle here. You can see it's down, sloped down about 7 degrees on the top. Nice radius on it. So it's like a gouge, spindle gouge. It's also like a skew, a round nose skew. You know, you got about the same angle on it there to rub the bevel one side and you're cutting the wood the other. For rolling a bead, it's hard to beat it. We saw my little smoothing finishing scraper, double-ended one here. We got a radius on this end. Again, the 37 degrees included angle on both ends. And radius on this end. And a little handle I put on whichever end I'm not using. Just a little plastic piece of pipe. So I'm not cutting this hand. And I just use it level. It's not for taking aggressive cuts, it's just for smoothing off those little blemishes. Did use a smaller version of the flat top gouge, just because sometimes where you have a little tight space to get into, it's nice to have. And we ended up with a nice little decoration that you can make for Christmas, hang on your tree. Well, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I do have another video in the box. I don't know if I'll get it out before Christmas. Making a bowl. Actually, it's shot over 3 bowls because I kept messing up with the camera. and so I had to turn another bowl to do the next stage and this kind of thing. So there it is. Have fun. See you next year. Bye now. Hi. We have some bloodwood here, a couple of bloodwoods, these two here. And we have some padauk, this dark wood, this beautiful, beautiful dark wood padauk. And a red palm here. All very pretty. I think this is my favorite. I really like that dark wood. Yeah, anyway, there they are. Now you know how to make them. Simple, eh? We'll see you next time. Merry Christmas. Bye now.